Rabbi Aaron called me up to speak. So my first thought was to speak about the Yonah Diema. The Bavus, the Shaila, the well-known Shaila. If you can't get a hold of a turkey for tomorrow, is there a mitzvah to go ahead and make a Sudan chicken? That was the Shaila. Yonah Diema. Rabbi Aaron told me the topic should be a successful businessman. So we change the topic. Maybe if we have time at the end, we'll go back to the original Shaila and we'll talk about the different stardom of that Shaila.
You have to get it, how turkey is kosher to begin with.
Get that.
Okay. What makes a successful businessman? So before I begin, I know that I sat through a few of these already, many. And the first question everyone asks, everyone goes at the end, everyone says, so tell us about yourself. So let's start there. My name is Yossi Kaplowitz. I sit usually over there. I learned to my son Yechiel. The reason we learned here is because he's a tremendous fan of Rabbi Aaron and the yeshiva. We wanted to learn together with yeshiva, so we learn over here. I spent 10 years in Koil and Beis Meshkevoya. The last 3 years, after 7 years in Koil, I saw the writing on the wall, as they call it. And I started studying computer networking. That was today they call it IT, but back then it was called networking. That's where I started. I spent 2 years getting my certification. And what I did was, I only did it at night. I was in yeshiva. And then at night, I spent 2 hours every night. I went to Rabbi Solomon, and I asked him what I should do. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? So he told me that through the Rambam. The Rambam said that everyone's mechuyev to learn 3 hours, to work 3 hours a day and learn 9 hours a day. So he said, you're going to be working 2 hours a day. You're 100% mechuyev to do it. And I followed his advice. I spent 2 years doing that. I got my certification. At the end, Microsoft decided to change the certification. And I spent another half a year further. And then I started looking for a job. After about a half a year of working with different people, I started working as a consultant for a consulting company in Manalapan called Silicon East. I worked there for 3 years. And at that point, one of my clients decided to hire me away. It's not a simple question. I did go to a bezin to discuss it with them, to shout my rufio. It's not a simple question in halacha, but their psak was that I should take it. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Maybe we'll get back to that. And I've been with that company now for 19 years. I started out as director of their IT department, and I moved up over time to CTO, which is Chief Technology Officer, eventually becoming their CIO, Chief Information Officer. If you have questions about that, we can talk about that a little bit later. Okay, what's called success? So if I go around the room and I say, so what would you call success, right? So most people would give me a number. It's a number, right? Your success might be $1 million in the bank. It might be, if I make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, that's what you call success. There'll be one guy who's going to say, success is if I finish shots. I don't mean, not you, I'm not talking to you. And in a way, maybe that guy might be right, that might be success in the eyes of Hashem and all that. That's not what we're discussing. What's called being a successful businessman? What's called success? So let's take an example. Let's take the fellow who puts in the 70 to 80 hour week, comes out with $500,000 a year. I know people like that. Now, a 70 to 80 hour week, in case you do the math, basically means she's not working on Shabbos. Friday is not really a full day. You're putting in 14 to 16 hour days. Just since figure that out. If you start at 8, you finish at 10. That's a 14-hour day. You find that in corporate law. You find that in high-end accounting. You find that very often in the nursing home industry. You find people who are doing that. I recall years and years ago, as a kid, I was working as a consultant. I once did a job in Manhattan, and I ended up taking the last bus home from Port Authority. I believe it was a 1 o'clock bus. I'm not certain, and on the bus I met a friend of mine who was a lawyer, and he was finished for the day. And I said, "Wow!" But I said, "I do this every day." I do this every day. You know, the 1 o'clock bus. Like, he's friends with the bus driver already. So there are people who do that. And you come out at the end of the year $500,000. Is that a success? Was he successful? So let's see. So the guy comes home, he comes home, he collapses. I don't know if he even cracks a book at that point. Hopefully he makes it to $1 million, maybe. Comes home Friday night, he sits down, falls asleep in the soup. Gets up Shabbos morning, comes to shul. Now he's wearing his Hermès tie, his Gucci shoes, probably has a Bulgari watch. He's coming in, sits down, sits down, and he feels good. He has a custom suit, he feels great. When there's a kiddush in shul, he's the first guy to put up the money for it. There's an appeal, someone's tremendous bout stalker. Is he a success? Well, he feels he's a success because if he didn't, he wouldn't do it. Or he might be stuck. So he's going along. Now, if you ask his wife, she would say, well, the first year she probably thought, great, you know, I can buy whatever I want, I can wear my designer clothing, I get my Louboutins, do whatever I want, and she feels great. It might even last for 2 years. By the third year already, you know, she doesn't really have much of a husband, not much of a life. Kids are getting older. There's there's homework with them. No one looks at them. No one sees them. But at the end, he feels good about himself. He knows he's a good person. He gets thought of. Okay, he considers himself a success. Other people may look at him and think that's not a success, but he feels he's a success. Okay, that's great. He feels he's a success. Let's take another guy. This guy goes ahead and he goes to work. He works 9 to 5 job. He pulls in, let's say, 125. Let's say it's 125. Pick a number. Doesn't really have much extra. His wife probably has a job too on the side. But he comes home, he does a daf in the morning, goes to Minyan. He doesn't look at himself as a success. He looks around and he feels he's not a success. Okay, now, suddenly he goes and he gets a Genesis. Now he has a Genesis. He got a Genesis. Somehow he got it. He got it. Someone gave him a Genesis. And now he feels like a success. Now he feels like he's a success. He's the same guy. He's just driving his car to work, but I have a Genesis. Now I'm a success. Okay, let's take it back a second. Someone comes and says, here's $10,000. Now you can go ahead and lease yourself a Genesis. Would he do it? He definitely wouldn't. He has plenty of things to spend his money on. Now he's not a success anymore. Same amount of money. He has the same thing, but he doesn't feel he's a success. You might call him a success. His wife is happy. I hope maybe she's not happy, depending on their situation. So success is very much in the eye of the beholder. We judge ourselves, most people, they judge their success not so much as their own personal success, but the way people perceive them. Everything goes by perception. If I think other people look at me as a success, then I feel I'm a success. If I think people don't, then I'm not. So let's go back to this guy. How did he determine yes success, no success? Why does he care so much what other people think? How does that all work? There's a theory in the world called the theory of economics. You may have heard of it, very well-known thing. The theory of economics states that everything that happens in the world is based on money. Everything goes by money. We go ahead, let's take it simple. We go ahead, we have a war in Iraq, it's because of gas. Why is it because of gas? Because of money. But the theory of economics goes much deeper. The theory of economics states that everything has a value. And everything that a person does is based on that value. The person's always going ahead and judging himself. My son gave me a good example. You all know Vayamoin. It's a classic Vayamoin story about the guy who decided, he used to go every day on the bus, got to Port Authority, And he decided that he's not gonna look at the billboards. That's gonna be his legal promo. He's not gonna look at the billboards. One day he decided, I wanna go find out, I'm curious, how much do these billboards cost? So he goes, does his research, $750,000 for 1 week for a billboard. And he's thinking, wow, it's worth $750,000 to get me to look at that sign. I'm gonna fight it. I just got a $750,000 mitzvah. Lamaisa, he's wrong. His calculation, it's a great story, right? Why is he wrong? Because they spend $750,000 because they know 100,000 people a day are gonna look at the billboard. So now we just dropped the value down to about $1 a person a day. So it's really, but it all comes down to what your value is. How do you calculate value? Let's say I'm gonna go over to you and say, I will pay you $100 not to daven in a minyan tomorrow. Would you take me up on it? Hey, I'll go to a guy who never davens in a minyan, never makes it. You can pick your guy. You tell him, tomorrow I'm gonna give you $100, you can't come to Shabbos. No way, not for sure. $1,000. 10,000?
Done.
There you go. Everything has a price. Now, that same guy, let's say he's a businessman, and he has a business meeting. Oh, 1 second. Now, to go to the business meeting, I gotta get really early, I have to travel. I can't daven in a minyan. Okay, so what you just did was you just went ahead and said, davening is worth the value of that meeting. So really, you did the same, it all comes down to money. It's one after the other. So we have to throw in the little pitch for the parsha. The Ramban says that when Yaakov bought the Bechorah from Esau, it wasn't pshat that Esau went ahead and didn't care about the Bechorah. He said, he made a simple calculation. He said, what's the value of Bechorah to me? He said, value, let's see, a Bechorah is only good after my father dies, because I have nothing while he's alive. What's the chance that I'm gonna make it alive until my father dies? He said, with my lifestyle, there's no way. I'm not making it. Okay, so Bechorah to me has very little value. What's that chance? So I have a choice of a cholent or Bechorah. Cholent is worth more. Cholent is $7.50. I don't know. People get the extra large bowl of cholent, $15. $15 worth Bechorah. It all comes down to value. Okay, now let's take it a step further. When I was approached by this employer to go to them, so my original thought when they offered me the job was I wanted to see what the offer is so I can go back to my boss and go ahead and push him for more money. It was a nice offer. It wasn't that much more, 20% more. We're not talking about 20% to $500,000 right now. It was 20% more, but my children were getting older, and I wanted to be able to sit down with them at night and do their homework, to go over the chumash that they learned. So now I have a value question here. Which one is more important to me? On the one hand, I can have the life of a consultant, do whatever you want, your own hours, make them on your own. Or I can work 9 to 5 and then I'm done with my day. I won't make as much money in the long run, but I can go and make the choice. So it all comes down to where you put your values and how things go. In today's world, it's called quality of life. Quality of life is a very, very big, it's like a big thing today. And quality of life is really what determines in the outside world what's success. Success comes down to quality of life. Do I have what I want? Do I have what I need? At the same time, it's a balance. So if we go back to the original story, so then we have back that quality of life, that life balance. So now, let's go back for a second. I decided that my goal to success is $500,000. 1 second. But it's $500,000. How much am I going to give away from that to be able to live the life I want? I want to go on vacation. I want to enjoy my life. I want to spend time with my wife. I want to spend time with my kids. So the success will change based on that curve. You have to take everything together and then go. When you're a bacher, life is really easy, right? You don't really have that many expenses. If you can pull in, if you can come to yeshiva every day and pop $100,000 somehow, you're a massive success in your own eyes for sure, right? That's all you need. So to be a successful businessman, you really have to have a balance. You need to come up with that balance that makes you feel like you're a success. And that's really what it boils down to. There's a Chassam Sofer, very interesting Chassam Sofer, that someone told me today. Chassam Sofer says, the mission of is Al Tiyu Kavodim Hamshamshim Sorav Al Menasta Pavel Pras. Everyone knows the mission, right? Antigus Yisrael says that don't be like someone who serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get reward, be like someone who doesn't. Chassam Sofer says from the Haflah, he said that Pras means a portion. It doesn't mean a full amount, but a portion. He said that the famous mission, everyone knows, it's a portion. Says Chassam Sofer, that means like this: everything has a value to you. Based on your value, that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to judge you. And that's how you'll be rewarded also. Put it all together, and that's how you end up a successful businessman and a successful life. Okay, let's go back to the original Shaila, just enough. I know you all been waiting for the Shaila. The Shaila of the turkey is dependent on this. It's pshat. It's pshat that there's a din su'uda on Thanksgiving. And by the su'uda, there's a din that you bet when you eat turkey. Is that pshat? Or is pshat that the ikar din is the turkey? Granted, the place where you eat turkey is by the su'uda. So it depends on the plans. If pshat is the ikar din su'uda, so if you can't have turkey, so you have to do some other ways. You have a chicken. But if the din is the ikar din is to have turkey, so then, if you don't turkey, there's only this other su'uda b'chlal, then you're potter. Okay. Any questions?
Is the cranberry sauce maca? Is the cranberry sauce maca?
No, cranberry sauce is not mine.
It basically comes.
Okay.
How do you manage to be CIO only working 3 hours a day?
So, I'll tell you interesting. Rabbi Phil Solomon told me, he said that in a very interesting shita, the Rambam holds that you're not allowed to go to Kairo. The Rambam, the famous Rambam in Pirush Mishnah and Masechet Avos, the Rambam was very anti-Kairo. He said it's an open in Mishnah, and there's no right to go to Kairo. When Rabbi YK started the first Kairo in Kovna, that was the first Kairo, it was in Kovna, he said the problem was that in Klal Yisrael today, it's not possible to learn 3 hours a day and work 9 hours a day. If you can work 9 hours a day and learn for 3 hours a day, that's an ace. So he said, so Torah Matela, the Torah will be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. So therefore, the times change. So the answer to your question is not possible. You can't be a CIO in 3 hours a day, but you can try, and whenever you have the ability, you can go ahead and do something else. One second. When I was in negotiations for my salary, for my original salary, so the CFO of the company, who was the one who was trying to get me in, told me how much to ask for. He said, but they're not going to do it. You asked for this, they're not. But since you asked for this, you have the ability to go ahead and ask them back for other things. So they said, that's too much. They gave me a number. I said, fine. But everyone else starts vacation after, you only get paid vacation after a year. I want vacation immediately. And by the way, and Yom Tov is off. And they said, yeah. So it all boils down. So I got that quality of life where I can go ahead and I have now a bunch of days that I can take off, so I'm going to be working. And it's quite a full-time job. On the other hand, I got my extra time, so I have some time that I can take off.
What's a CTO and what's a CIO?
So a CTO would be Chief Technology Officer, which would be more the common, let's call it top of the IT field. In today's world, information is much more, IT is information technology, but the I part is much more important. So whereas a CTO would be going ahead and taking care of the computers, the servers, the server farm, etc., making sure nothing ever goes down, keeping the business running. The CIO will go ahead and say, this software that you're using to run the company is not really the best. You can run the company much more efficiently if we change the whole mindset of the company. So let's not do things this way, let's do things this way. So it's more of a mix of a CEO with the COO, and putting that all together, driving the direction of the company. Okay.
Where you consult, what type of business?
The company I work for is called Kaplan Companies. They are a real estate developer. So they do construction, and so when I first started, they were building about 400 homes a year. That was the number. It's a Yiddish company. They're not from. They're actually Alto Lakewooders. Alto Lakewooders. The owner of the company, he came after the war. He ended up on an egg farm somewhere out in South Lakewood, right near Toms River. And then they branched out. So they would do development. So the model that they do, they would develop the area, then they would sell some. They would hold for rentals. Right now they have about 4,500 units that they manage, but they own. So they build them, then they hold them, and then they lease them out. And they use one thing to do the next. That's it. It's a very interesting model. I do know there are a company there, a very large company that belongs JCM, which is probably one of the largest companies in the state.
You was here last week.
What?
You was here last week.
Oh, cool.
It's wrong.
Yeah, it's Romans. So when they first started, they partnered with Zucker, and at that point they really started. He was more into development. JCM's model was just buying. There's so much things. They're so cash heavy. They would just buy properties and rent them out. They pretty much bought whatever they were done with, and now they started moving to the other model where they actually build and then hold. So that's a different model. So in the real estate industry, you have both sides now. The way of buying, holding 5 years and selling, that's a very common model today. That's more a venture capitalist type of field. And you're putting the money down, you buy, you keep it going, wait for the price to go up, and then you have the hold forevers, which is going ahead, buy the properties, and now you have a cash cow that's constantly producing. So you have those two are the two separate models.
What does the IT department in such a company look like?
The IT department is pretty small because there are about 150 active users. HQ is about 35 people in headquarters, and then you have multiple sites. So you have every leasing site is their own system. Everything comes in. I can say that when I started, so I have built a company using a VPN mesh where everyone comes into, everything happens at HQ, everything is running through there, but everything, so all the software is there, everything is running, and those people are out at site, all the phone system, everything goes right through headquarters. So once it all comes down to setup. So when things are set up properly, you need a very small department. It's not really that difficult to manage. If things are set up in a more complicated manner, then you'll have people running to sites all the time. You constantly going this is down and that's down. We have no programmers on staff. It's something that I learned way back when, that in a large company, to need programmers on site, you have to be ridiculously large. And the reason is, there's always software out there that's developed. And most of that software is developed very well. It's used by multiple companies, they find the things that are needed, and they go ahead, and the software that will be developed will be used, they can't just define the right software. So programming is something, if you have a super large company, JCM is a good example. JCM, they wrote their own software for management. And they use it for years. They put millions and millions of dollars into it. And to do something like that, you really need a very large department. You need developers, you need programmers, you need IT. But now, they're actually finally offer their own platform, and now they're going to public platforms. Because the software is just better. It's just better, and it's constantly managed, and the overhead costs are much less.
Would you suggest someone getting into the IT field or cybersecurity? What's the difference?
The IT field is a tremendous field. It incorporates so many different parts that you can go into, let's say, if you want to go into IT, right? It's something that you'll start out learning basic computers, maybe servers, and you'll pick up over time. You'll pick up at this, you'll pick up at that. Maybe you want to go into routing. If you like sitting in front of a computer and dealing with numbers all day, you can just do routing. And in a large company, you may need to do that. And now when I say large, I'm talking about companies with thousands and thousands of routers. We have about 30, right? 30 sites, about 30 routers. There are ways to do that. Once you learn it, you can do it yourself. You set it up. It all comes down to what you set up. Cybersecurity is its own field. It's really its own field. If you're in IT, you have to know cybersecurity, but you'll never be that top level of cybersecurity. So you have to keep everything safe, make sure you're not attacked. And as a general, you'll be okay until you get hit. Then you'll need to find a cybersecurity company, which will, if you do get attacked, which will have to go ahead and go in. So it's its own field. It's really its own field. The count on cybersecurity is probably 160, 170. You're not going to go too much higher than that unless you open your own business. You open your own business, now you're not an IT person really. Now you're a businessman. There was, of all the IT companies in Lakewood, there was only one that was really successful, and that was Techies, and he sold out. And he wasn't a computer guy. He was a businessman. He hired a bunch of people, and he got bigger and bigger, and eventually he was bought out by someone else. So, is it a good field to go into? If you enjoy it, if you like working on tough puzzles and figuring things out, it's a great field. IT, you have to know, to do it well, you have to know everything. You also have to be a people person. You have to know how to be nice to people. The classic IT story we love to tell is the guy called up Dell, and they said that the computer's not working. So the guy said, okay, let's check it out. And they start going through this and going that. And the person says, can you go under your desk and see if the computer's plugged in? So the person said, the lady, I think it was, said, I can't. He says, why not? It's too dark. He says, turn on a light. I can't, we're in a little blackout. So his response to her was, you know what? I think you should pack up your computer and send it back. We'll give you a full refund. So Rich responded, is that bad? He said, no, you're too stupid to have a computer. So you have to realize that you're going to run into these all day. The fun part is when there's a problem, which you always doubt and there won't be, is figuring out what the problem was, what started it, which person hit the wrong button, and now you have to work backwards. And sometimes you have to go through the entire company and go through all the logs and start looking and figuring out where the problem was and fix it. So now you're dealing with puzzles. So everything that you learned in Gemara, all that, all the svos, everything is all stuff that you're going to end up using, believe it or not, when you have a really, really tough problem.